Before I dive into my experience with this game, let me just say up front, I genuinely enjoyed playing through it. And it's definitely a game everyone should experience at least once. While I might not have any nostalgic connection to Half-Life, I can still fully understand why it was such a monumental step forward for FPS games. The level of immersion and storytelling it introduced at the time was unlike anything most people had ever seen before. And even now, decades later, it still holds up remarkably well in many aspects. But I still need something to ramble about, so you're just gonna have to bear with me here. The game begins with the now iconic 5-minute train ride into the Black Mesa research facility. During this sequence, you're gradually filled in on why you're there, learning just enough about the world to get invested. I know some people these days can't stand long opening scenes, but honestly, I don't mind it. If anything, it's a great way to set the tone and establish the world, making you feel like you're a part of something bigger right from the start. You get a glimpse of all the employees working in the facility, scientists in their labs, workers going about their tasks, and this inconspicuous businessman with a suitcase. The first half of this game is nothing but pure atmosphere and storytelling, and even during the gameplay there's pretty much no music, just the sound of nearby machinery and your own footsteps, really making you feel like you're playing some sort of horror game. The silence amps up the tension, and every creak and hum in the environment makes you feel like something's lurking just out of sight. And honestly, even if that vibe fades after the first few areas, I'd still slap on some headphones and get lost. The sound design is so eerie, it feels like you're walking through Chernobyl, waiting for the inevitable jump scare, and the enemies you face during these parts, while not very challenging, really add to that horror-like feel with their designs. Their unsettling, alien-like look ramps up the tension, and given the fact that this was released in 1998, the people back then were probably shitting their pants looking at this. The puzzles during these parts are fairly simple, never really making you spend too much time on them. They're not brain-busting, but they keep you engaged just enough to break up the action and keep things moving. And the combat is usually a series of quick, intense firefights that demand some quick thinking. The way Gordon moves in this game really surprised me, honestly. I was fully expecting the movement to feel like Counter-Strike 1.6, but nope. Instead, you get this 27-year-old lab geek scientist, and this starting speed is like a cockroach trying to outrun a shoe. The movement is a mixed bag at first. During the earlier gunfights, it almost gives you this feeling that you can just zoom around the room, blasting enemies like it's Doom or something, but you can't, since every single shot will land on you fucking perfectly. And during some of the parkour sections, they almost feel weirdly slidey in a way, but that sensation does at least go away after a while. It's not that I hate it, the speed definitely makes backtracking a lot easier, and I'm sure that's exactly what the developers intended. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. However, it does become pretty satisfying once you hit the later stages of the game. The speed really serves its purpose when you're running from a giant fucking mech or during the final boss fight. At that point, you're thankful for that cockroach-like speed as you're dodging death at every turn. Still, there is minor stuff like getting off the ladders sometimes, but honestly that's to be expected with a game this old. The way the game makes NPCs interact with the world, whether it's opening doors, giving you instructions, or even helping you out in combat, is honestly really cool and even kind of charming. It's like they're actual people doing their jobs, not just some mindless background characters. They're not the brightest sometimes, but there's something oddly endearing about a security guard awkwardly trying to shoot an alien while you're just standing there like, look at Dora's feet. And the lack of cutscenes makes a seamless player interaction and storytelling even better. Everything happens right in front of you and it keeps you in control the whole time. Instead of sitting through a cinematic, you're the one living through it.
You don't look as if you have any trouble killing things.
Now, is the story some kind of masterpiece? No, not really, but it definitely does its job setting up the sequel and making every plot twist feel like it came out of nowhere. It's less about blowing your mind and more about keeping you guessing, and it nails that. As for the weapon variety, it is a highlight of the game. Sure, at first, ammo is so scarce you're basically forced to channel your inner caveman with a crowbar or pick off enemies with a dinky pistol, but once you get to the later stages, it is an all-out bullet festival. The soldiers will flank you, these weird-looking grunts will be airdropped from fucking flying vehicles, the choppers make you take cover and carefully time your movement, and the whole Zen area is basically just one big fucking clusterfuck of these weird annoying ass telepathic monkeys. The shooting might not be amazing mechanically, but the aggressiveness of the AI and the fast movement I mentioned earlier makes it feel chaotic and satisfying enough for you to keep wanting more. Every enemy has a unique and distinct behavior that forces you to constantly adapt your strategy. From the head crabs lunging at you from dark corners to the vortigons zapping you with their alien lightning, no two encounters feel the same. And then there's the final boss, this weird floating fetus looking thing with too many teeth, which for me was a real highlight of the game. You're dodging blasts, managing teleportation traps, and trying to figure out how to actually damage this cosmic baby. And what makes these later parts even better is the arsenal you've collected. The revolver is a monster for taking out multiple enemies in a single shot. The crossbow is great for picking off enemies from a distance and putting down tougher ones with ease. And the hornet gun is perfect for when you want to take things slow or save ammo. Every level, every shootout feels different from the last, and it's all on you to make the right adjustments on the fly. It's that kind of unpredictability that makes the gameplay fresh and intense, making sure you're always on the edge, ready for whatever comes next. But this game does have one glaring issue, however, and that's the progression. 1 minute you'll be mowing down everything in sight, and then the next you're stuck in a room with zero idea where to go. The earlier levels are pretty good about giving you visual cues, but as the game goes on, it feels like they just stopped trying. And while I love a game that doesn't hold your hand, some of these moments really made me want to break my keyboard on the first playthrough. Suddenly you're expected to navigate complex puzzles and labyrinth levels with minimal guidance. Remember the blast pit where you got introduced to that giant fucking chemical monster that reacts to sound? And the game just sits back, arms crossed, waiting for you to figure out how to get past it. And the entire on a rail section consists of you going in circles about a few hundred times before you made progress. But considering this game came out in 1998, it's astonishing how well it holds up. The storytelling is woven into the gameplay seamlessly with no cutscenes to break immersion, and the game's pacing keeps you engaged, alternating between combat, exploration, and puzzle solving. It's a roller coaster that doesn't let you off until the end credits roll, and despite the moments that made me question my sanity. Where do I go? What the fuck am I supposed to do here next? What the fuck do I do? Oh my fuck. There's a tank right there, man! Half-Life remains a monumental achievement in gaming history. Its influence is undeniable, paving the way for narrative-driven shooters and setting the standard for immersive gameplay. And even today, it offers a challenging and rewarding experience that few modern games can replicate.